This will save your life here, and not just for drinking. We use it for a bunch of other things. And do you know why? If you've been here, you know exactly why, but I'll tell you in this video. So I've spent 3 years here in Tbilisi. Here are my 10 biggest cons that I experienced while living here. Number one is driving. The driving is really bad here. There's not really many rules, it's just kind of drive wherever. You'll see scooters, bikes, vans, everyone driving on the footpath. They don't know how to use roundabouts here, so that's why you only see one or two of them. There used to be a roundabout down the road from where I live, and they removed it and just made a triangle because they couldn't work out how to drive around it, and it's just causing huge traffic problems. So something that you're going to be scared of is the driving. It's dangerous driving, it's scary, and sometimes you have to cross the road, especially if you live in somewhere like Avlabari, and it's not a very fun experience. Number two is the lack of shopping. So this ranges from electronics to goods to everything, really. It's just there's not much variety here. And if you're used to coming from the West, such as myself, that's all going to go out the window. There's only like one or two brands of things, and they're typically from Russia or Georgia. And Georgia doesn't make a whole lot of things themselves. Number three, kind of goes off number two, is the import tax. So the fees of importing things here are actually rather high. That's why electronics, for example, are rather expensive. If you want to do any electronic shopping, I would definitely recommend, especially if you're going through somewhere like Istanbul, buy them there and then bring them here so you don't have to worry about the crazy prices of things. Because of the lack of shopping and there not being such thing as Amazon, you can get things through forward delivery services. There's a thing called USA to Georgia, which basically you get basically an American address, and then you can send stuff over here to Georgia, but then you have to pay huge amounts of tax if it's over a specific amount of money, which is about $100 on top of all of the fees that you pay for bringing it here, and then paying an extra 20% on top of other couple of fees. It's just the fees are too high for importing things, especially things you just can't get here or that are just too crazily expensive. Number four is fake products. So there's a big problem with fake goods here, and they'll sell them as their official. So you just got to be very aware that if something's cheap, especially secondhand, I wouldn't buy anything that's secondhand off anyone here that's of a big brand, like kind of a big purchase. That kind of goes with, not that I'd say cars are fake goods, but a lot of the cars are been damaged or they've been wrecked, and they've kind of just thrown them together with extra parts, and they're selling them and they do a good job at making them look like they're new, but they're completely destroyed underneath. But surface level, everything looks fine. So you just got to be careful of fake goods, whether that's just proper fake things or cars or anything like that. Number five is service. Service is atrocious here. You're just going to have to get used to it. People are going to be very rude to you. They're going to roll their eyes. They're not going to want to do their jobs. They'll just tell you whatever makes their life easier. So one time I got a cold soup at a rather expensive restaurant. I was with my Georgian friend, and I said, oh, I can get them to heat us up. And she just laughed at me and said, okay, you do that. So I told them, can you please heat this up? And they kind of rolled their eyes at me, and then they moved it away. And about 20 minutes later, they came back with the soup and they gave it to me, and I ate it, and it was great. But then I saw the bill. They had charged me twice for it. So even though they could have just heated up the soup, I don't know what they did, but they charged me twice for it. And I spoke to them about it, and they said, you ordered 2 soups. So this is kind of the thing you're just going to have to deal with here. So now the fun one is this. It's frequent water outages and power outages. So this depends on where you live, but it doesn't really matter because it's different variations. If you live in the really old town, this is going to happen all the time. Don't be shocked when you go into an Airbnb or the place you're renting and you see one of them. It's not there for drinking. You can drink the tap water. The tap water's fine. There's no issues there. I've actually measured the water, and I think it was 200 parts per million. So it's perfectly fine. But what you do need to keep it for is washing yourself. So thankfully, for example, I've only experienced about a day or 2 days water outage. When I moved to a different country, my neighbor said that they had no water for 6 days in my building. So just be aware of that. Be prepared. And then obviously electric outage, just have your stuff charged. If you've got an external battery, have that. Have a couple of lights. like I have, and then just use them, and there's nothing much you can do, and just hope you don't get stuck in an elevator when that happens. So cons is prices for imported goods. So this is obviously going to be for people that maybe miss a bit of home. But if you don't want to just eat Georgian food all the time, which is typically very heavy and filling, lots of butter, lots of bread, that sort of thing, you might just go for some things that you're used to. Now you're going to pay an insane amount of money for them, like anywhere really. Every country is like that. But here I noticed the prices on quite a few things are very high. So a little tip for you is typically the better prices for Western goods come from Poland. That's the big one. And the stuff from Poland is very good. It might not be the exact brands that you're used to, but it will be a similar taste in general rather than like the Russian brands, which are cheaper. But to me personally, everything I've really tasted Russian, except for a handful of exceptions, just don't taste very good to me. It's a very different tasting food. Number 8 is things sell out consistently, like all the time. So anything that is a bit more niche, which isn't specifically designed for the Georgian market and it's more catered towards tourists, even if it sells well, they just stop selling it. I've seen it so many different times. You can't see it at the moment, but the tripod is on one of my air purifier filters. I spent over $1,000 on this massive air purifier and they stopped selling the filters. Just completely stopped. So I bought 2 more and I've stocked up on 5 air filters and they've stopped selling them again. Anything that you can think of, I buy in bulk just so when it does sell out, I don't have to worry about it. Emmental cheese, I used to love Emmental cheese. I've bought out pretty much everywhere. They don't sell that anymore. They haven't really sold it for about a year, except for one of them. You name it. The list goes on and on and on. This monitor, this is the last monitor you can get in Georgia. I bought the very last one and they haven't restocked. I've had it for about a year. So this is just kind of the things you need to expect on living here. Number 9 is the quality of meat. So the quality of meat is not very good here. I have had good quality meat. I do go to one of the most expensive places here for meat and the quality is good. It's very expensive, but it is rather nice. But in general, if you're going to just your normal places that you can buy meat, the quality is going to be pretty poor. Chicken is reasonable, but beef in particular is not very good here. Once you leave Tbilisi, you can get a lot better quality, but I don't know what it is in Tbilisi. I don't know if they import it or where it comes from. If it is from here, I have no idea, but it's just not very good quality and you just have to accept that. So number 10 is people are rather cold in comparison to other countries. Now, let me preface this is I think if you make a Georgian friend, they're the best people in the world. They'll do anything for you and they're the most incredible people. I mean, once you got a Georgian friend, you got a friend for life. But in general, in public, like trying to meet Georgians, they're not the most open and welcoming people, okay? There are exceptions to the rule, but I've gone out so many times and tried to talk to Georgians and they're kind of a bit more standoffish. Now, it could be a variety of reasons. Obviously, English could be the barrier. But even if I just try in Georgian, there's not quite that friendly. It's more awkward and it's like they kind of just want to walk away from you. So I've asked quite a few people this since I've lived here, is if everyone's kind of felt the same. In general, that's kind of what everyone's settled on, is they're just kind of harder to talk to. So if you go to some expat pubs, the Georgians that are normally hanging around in those areas are expecting to be spoken to and are very friendly, but just in public, it's just a bit harder. So just something to be aware of. Number 11 is the low level of English. English is getting better over time, but the English level is poor. And Google Translate doesn't do a great job, so use Yandex Translate. It is the best one that I've found. If you found a better one and you live here, please let me know. I'll be greatly appreciative of it. But yeah, you're going to have to try to learn some Georgian or work around it. I've tried Georgian to learn Georgian. It's a very difficult language. I can understand it a lot of the time, but I can't speak it. There's a lot of different tenses, and it's just a very complicated language to learn. But if you can learn it, that'd be great. You'll probably make a lot more friends, Georgian friends, than I have. But be prepared to be learning it for many, many, many years. And number 12 is the health system. So if you've seen the health system here, it's not very good. So I've put a picture on the screen here just to show you some comparisons. But the technology is a bit out of date here. I have gone to the hospital once. I got really severe food poisoning from some beef that I bought here. And essentially what they had done with me was they basically just throw you, they don't actually know, they just want to keep charging you money for tests that you don't need. I mean, they were even charging me for things as such as STDs and stuff like that, tests which have nothing to do with it. And then they basically said it was because I was standing outside too long and it was too cold. Like, just things that don't make sense. It's, if you're going to go through the health system here, I would honestly just fly to another country. It's that bad. I have experienced this first time with my best friend. She got cancer here, and it was a pretty horrific way that they dealt with her. So she actually ended up having to get flown away somewhere else. So I just would really avoid the health system here as much as you can. Obviously, if it's an emergency, go there. But if it's that serious and you have the time and the money to get out to a better country, I just do that. I've seen it firsthand. I've experienced it firsthand. Try to stay away from the health system here. It's not very good. So that's some of my cons. Just a little fun one for you. This is one of my other cons. This is just a small little fun one. They love to put these little imports, when every time they import something over, they put these little stickers on it, which are really frustrating. But I didn't add that to the list. I just thought it was funny because I saw it out of the corner of my eye. But yeah, they're my cons. If you like this video, please like it. Go through onto my channel. I've got a whole list of videos from Tbilisi, how to live here, make your life easier, make it simpler, and I'm keep adding to it every couple of days. So I'm a new YouTuber, so the content will keep coming. And if you have any suggestions, add them in the comments, and I'll see if I can make a video on it.